This week, we celebrated International Women's Day. Women all over the world decided to wear red, hence the outfit. We tweeted, some marched and some took the day off in protest. However, there was one topic trumping Trump in feminist circles up and down the country. Was it anti-feminist for Emma Watson to pose topless for Vanity Fair? I have to say I'm conflicted. On one hand, I understand Watson's argument that feminism comes in all forms and it's about choice. However, I do think Emma Watson is in the unique and rare position for a young woman in that she's respected and admired for her views and opinions, even more so than her day job. This is something that she should guard with the preciousness it deserves. There are many ways for a woman to be bold, and I don't necessarily think stripping off is one of them.
Yeah, happy International Women's Day, June, but it was yesterday. Did you not get
this week? Yes,
okay, fine.
This week.
I think we're all conflicted about this one, and I think it's a tricky one because Emma Watson, her USP is that she's a young, radical feminist ambassador for women, very outspoken, articulate, and she doesn't do really cheesy stuff. But having said that, I think we've got to recognise that publishing and film and lots of the media is sold literally off the back of young, pretty, often and usually white women looking gorgeous for front pages and for photo shoots and for stripping off as much as they can. Yeah. And female pop stars, you know, we can't list the number of them who, from Madonna, well, actually probably from way before Madonna, who stripped down to their underwear to perform, whereas men just don't have to. It's not in the rule book. It's in the rule book. She's partly fulfilling her contract, I'd imagine, doing a shoot. She didn't, in fact, have an enormous amount of control over how the picture turned out, as I think we're going to see from what she says about this particular image.
The shot itself, I mean, I was honestly slightly taken aback by it because it sort of hadn't, you know, we'd been doing so many crazy things on that shoot, but it had really felt incredibly sort of artistic, and I'd been so kind of like creatively involved and engaged with Tim, and I was so thrilled with how kind of like interesting and beautiful the photographs were.
Tim was the photographer. I think what we've got to say, I think to finish what I'm going to say is, I think we need to have the Johnson test, which is if everyone's talking about your tits after you do something, you showed too much and it was a fail.
Yeah, I think so. And I think actually with Emma, she's one of the rare ones who doesn't have to conform to the norm, in that she's respected for her opinion and her views, and her career is more successful because of that. And I think her going down that same boring road of, you know, women, naked pictures, underwear, it's boring and she doesn't need to do it. And to be honest with you, she's got to decide if she really wants to be taken seriously as a change agent, as it were. Is it worth it?
Can I just explore the Johnson test as regards
I like
tits?
Johnson
now, what exactly is this all about again? Because God knows you've got one in the family, so I'm just like to explore that.
Several, Nick. Well, it's just, if you do a public appearance and everybody talks not about your views on female genital mutilation, but about whether you were topless underneath that Burberry bolero.
Or what you might wear to go jogging.
OK, Nick, I know where you're going.
Yeah, but we're not talking about men, we're talking about women.
What I was talking about was control.
I agree.
It's like who controls the image?
Precisely.
And what you saw there was
Clearly
even Emma Watson wasn't in control of her image there.
And also she doesn't need to do it. Greg,
well, I mean, if you're a bloke and you get involved in this discussion, you do it with some trepidation.
Yes, be careful.
So I rang my daughter, who's a very hardline feminist, this morning and said, look, what do you think? And she said, which I thought was like, there's enough major issues to be discussing about the role of women in this week than to discuss this. So I'm not really going to discuss it at all.
What were her alternative topics,
Yeah,
Greg?
what would she...
I think she's about the role of women in society, the role of salary, money, you know, women in this country. If you talk about this country, what she did say about this was, Emma Watson is also international. In this country, she thinks it doesn't matter, but maybe internationally it is an unwise thing to have done.
And also the point is, what your daughter said is precisely right. We're talking about equal pay, we're talking about inequality, but actually her doing that detracts from the very things that she's campaigning
I know,
about.
and we talk about women as if they're a collection of body parts and solely about appearance the whole time.
And it's boring.
No, well, often do.
You didn't buy that tawdry explanation, did you, as to how the picture suddenly happened? Emma Watson. If you recall the picture, yes, it's threadbare.
By the way, she wasn't topless. She wasn't wearing a bra.
She's without her bra, and she's got a very small crocheted top that sort of granny wears.
Well,
what does she expect is going to happen?
Yeah, precisely.
Good Lord, we actually found a point of view. But just, if any viewers, let's just remind everybody exactly the sort of genesis of this.
Yeah.
It was journalist Julia Hartley-Brewer, who tweeted, Emma Watson, quotes, feminism, gender wage gap, why, oh why am I not taken seriously, feminism, oh, and here are my tits. And the pledge team, hold on one second, last week made Julia Straight Talker of the Week, and here she is saying thank you to you all.
Thank you so much to The Pledge for making me Straight Talker of the Week. I am deeply honoured, and because I like you so much, I'm going to resist the urge to prove what an empowered feminist I am by not taking my top off. You're welcome.
Julia.
Makes a change, Julia. Only kidding.
Michelle, what do you think?
So I struggle a lot with this. And I will give you a recent example. A few days ago, last week, I was talking to a women's magazine that I greatly admire, and was talking about doing some work together. It actually came back and said that they weren't prepared to work with me because they didn't regard me as a feminist, and they felt that I was in conflict to some of the pillars to their brand. Which kind of, well, I can't remember, there was quite a few. And it kind of made me stop in my tracks and think properly about what do I think about this whole feminism thing. So for me, I regard myself as absolutely equal. All around this table, beyond this table, in the workplace, in the social, I regard myself as an equal person. I don't think you're better than me. I don't think you're better than me. I just think that we're all the same. And I want to see women do well. I think it's awesome when girls do brilliant things, but I also think it's awesome when guys do brilliant things. Now, I'm a little bit of a prude. There's very few people in this land that have seen my breasts, and that's a personal choice. I don't want to be pictured in bikinis and in underwear. And
What about that arty shot?
Well, I put a picture on my Instagram a few days ago, and it was a fancy dress. I ain't got it. Unfortunately, I ain't got it with me. And it was a fancy dress picture of me at Moulin Rouge. So it was quite breasty, because it was like a kang-kang outfit.
Right.
And I really had to stop and think twice about, do I want to put those pictures up there, and how would it make me feel? And in the end, I just did it because it's fancy dress, and who cares? But I do feel a little bit like I just want us to be taken seriously as equals. I think that you choose. Think that
when you make the choice, so, I don't know about you, because I think we sort of started around the same time, but when I started in television, it was the era of the Ladettes and, FHM and all of that stuff. And at the early part of my career, a lot of the time I was offered lots of those sorts of shoots.
Yeah,
and back then, your wage went up if you did those shoots.
Same.
And back to your point about usually it being white women, there were not many black women in television when I started, so I was one of the only black girls in that sort of category of presenters. And I purposely chose not to, because I knew I was passionate about issues. And therefore, if I was always seen in my underwear and in bikinis, it just detracts from it. And I do think that Emma Watson is one of those rare actresses that actually does have a choice.
I know, but
a lot of the
back
others
to what
don't.
I said earlier, nobody has asked, I presume, Nick or Greg to take their tops off for photo shoots.
I'll ask you to keep them on.
Take them off. It's just something that doesn't...
No, I don't want to see that. Once I see that,
it's something that just doesn't occur to the media industry.
But that's why the women themselves need to take a stand when they have a choice.
Perhaps, yes.
I thought your point was more interesting than actually whether or not she took her top off. I thought your point that someone's suggesting that you're not a feminist for particular, for certain reasons. And what I think is... you look back to the early days of feminism, it was tied very much in with the left-wing agenda.
Yeah.
It's not anymore.
No.
It's not anymore. And I think that that's what you should have said back to them. You're entitled to an opinion.
But I don't do women's marches, and I don't do, International Women's Day.
You're more than welcome to join.
I know, thank you. But the reason that I choose not to do that is because I think by taking to the streets and marching, I'm somehow suggesting that I'm not an equal already, and I think I am. I think that women in lots of other countries are not equal. I think that lots of other countries are massively backwards in terms of how they treat women.
We're
and
not
they
equal
need
here,
support.
though. You've got to look at the research and the data.
No, but I do, and I think that
you might be equal. That doesn't mean to say everybody here is equal.
No, but then also...
They're clearly not. Although, as you say, massive change compared to 30 years ago.
So
and you might be equal in your mind, but the opportunities and the options for you are not the same as that for your male counterpart.
No, but what I would say to girls, but I would say it to boys, is what we need to have is self-belief, we need to have aspiration, we need to have balls to negotiate on our salaries, we need to have all of these things. What we don't need is, oh, girls, we're all still down here, but boys are up there, but if we take to the street, girls, we can become equal. I don't like that. It makes me uncomfortable.